Breaking news! It's Saturday, August 22nd, and the Los Angeles Rams are ready to take the field again. Man, I admit, I'm much more excited about this game than I expected to be. Usually, the second preseason game feels like something we just have to get through before the regular season starts, but this time, there are some really interesting storylines unfolding on this roster. There are 4 points in particular I'll be watching closely during the matchup against the New Orleans Saints. And the main one is obvious. Ty Simpson versus Stetson Bennett. The battle for Matthew Stafford's backup spot gets more interesting by the day. After what happened in the first game, I don't think we can simply assume Bennett has already locked up the position. We also need to talk about Puka Nacua. I'll tell you all about it in a moment. But before we go on, make sure you've hit that like button. Only do it if you're a true Rams fan and believe we're heading to the Super Bowl this year. If you can, drop a comment below. Who should be Matthew Stafford's backup, Simpson or Bennett? Man, in my opinion, Ty Simpson is in better form right now. Before talking more about today's game, I need to talk about another important issue that is still hanging over the Rams. Puka Nacua is getting closer to a massive contract extension, but Rams fans clearly do not agree on when Los Angeles should make that commitment. According to the poll, 37% want the Rams to extend Puka before the season even begins. After another All-Pro season, including first-team honors, you can understand why. But waiting has supporters too. 19% would rather see the Rams use the franchise tag next off-season, while 15% want the organization to wait until next year before making a decision. Even more surprising, another 15% would consider trading him. And this is where things get complicated. If Puka dominates again, waiting could make his next contract even more expensive, especially after Jackson Smith-Njigba received a $168 million extension. But paying Puka now means trusting that his production will continue at the same level despite the controversies surrounding him. There is also the future beyond Matthew Stafford. Would Puka have the same chemistry and production with a quarterback like Ty Simpson? The Rams know what kind of talent Puka is. The real question is whether paying him now is smarter than waiting for one more year of proof. So Rams fans, if you had complete control over this decision, what would you do with Puka Nacua? Well, I'll share more updates on that later, but getting back to the game, all eyes are on Ty Simpson today. The workload during the joint practice against New Orleans tells us why. Sean McVay said the second-team offense had 25 reps during that practice. Bennett received 13 of those reps, while Simpson received 12. That is basically an even split between the two quarterbacks. And that is notable because the split had previously been much more favorable to Bennett. Now we are talking about something that is almost 50-50. McVay said the coaching staff would get together, study the tape, and determine how they wanted to approach the game. That does not guarantee a change on the quarterback depth chart, but it certainly tells us this evaluation is still very much alive. And after Simpson's first preseason performance, how could it not be? When you use a first-round pick on a quarterback and then see him flash earlier than expected, you have to pay attention. Maybe Simpson is further along than the Rams thought he would be at this point. Maybe his floor is already a little higher than expected. Those are the questions Simpson has created, and that naturally puts more pressure on Bennett. This is also why I actually expect we could see plenty of Bennett in this game. And Rams fans should not necessarily view that as bad news for Simpson. I know that sounds strange at first, but think about what it could mean. I know what many of you are probably thinking. You watched Simpson last week, you got excited, and now you want as much Ty Simpson as possible. I understand that completely. After seeing a young first-round quarterback give you something to be excited about, of course you want another long look at him. But we need to look at the bigger picture. Think about how Sean McVay has treated backup quarterbacks when he knows exactly what he has in them. Jimmy Garoppolo did not need to spend the preseason proving himself when the Rams already trusted him. The backup to Matthew Stafford is an extremely important position. If the coaching staff feels completely secure about that player, there is little reason to expose him unnecessarily during preseason games. So if Bennett continues receiving significant playing time, the interesting question becomes why? Is Los Angeles still trying to get a final answer on him? Is the coaching staff giving him another opportunity to prove that he should remain QB2? That is why seeing more Bennett could actually be good news for Simpson. The Rams already know Simpson is a rookie who needs development, but if they begin reducing his preseason workload because they are becoming more comfortable with what they are seeing, that would be fascinating. It could mean Simpson is developing faster than they expected. I would not be surprised to see something close to Bennett handling the first half and Simpson getting the second half. Obviously, McVay and the coaching staff still have to determine exactly how they want to divide those snaps, and yes, if that means we see less Simpson, it might be disappointing for fans. Everybody wants to watch the first-round rookie again, but the bigger picture matters much more than the number of preseason passes he throws. What really matters is how quickly the Rams begin trusting him. His first appearance created excitement and forced everyone to pay attention. Now, we get to see what comes next. The second major thing I am watching has nothing to do with the quarterback position. I want to see the Rams tackle better and defend the run better, because what happened against Kansas City was probably the biggest problem from an otherwise encouraging first preseason game. Los Angeles allowed 148 rushing yards. Emmett Johnson caused all kinds of problems for the Rams' defense. He repeatedly made defenders miss, forcing 9 missed tackles in the game. That is simply too many. The Rams had defenders arriving in position and then failing to finish the play. And yes, I understand the argument that these were not the main starters. It is preseason, and many of these players are fighting for backup jobs and roster spots. But that does not make the problem meaningless. In some ways, it makes evaluating these players even more important. Depth players matter during an NFL season. Injuries happen. Rotations happen. Eventually, somebody who is currently fighting for a role could be asked to play meaningful snaps when the games actually count. When that happens, the fundamentals cannot disappear. You cannot constantly arrive at the ball carrier and come away grabbing nothing but air. You cannot allow a short run to become a big gain because the first defender failed to finish the tackle. The Rams had too many moments like that against Kansas City. This week gives them a very good opportunity to respond. New Orleans did not have much success running the football in its preseason opener against Jacksonville. The Saints have players such as Audric Estime, Ty Chandler, and C.J. Donaldson available for these preseason opportunities. That is exactly the type of group the Rams' reserve defense should want to face after what happened last week. Forget about making some spectacular highlight play. I want to see simple football. Get into position, wrap up the runner, and finish the tackle. Do not turn a 3-yard gain into 8 because somebody missed. Do not allow a running back to keep a drive alive because 2 defenders failed to bring him down. It might not be the most exciting thing we watch all afternoon, but it tells us something about the quality of the depth on this roster. These are the little details that become important later in the season, and this defense needs to show improvement in that area. If Los Angeles dramatically reduces the missed tackles while controlling the Saints' running game, I will feel much better about what happened against Kansas City. One poor preseason performance does not define a defense, but repeated mistakes can eventually become a warning sign. This is the chance to make sure last week stays exactly what it was. One bad tackling performance that got corrected. The third thing might actually be the most entertaining matchup of the day. I want to see the Rams' secondary against Zach Wilson. I know how strange that might sound when you first hear it, but Wilson is coming into this game after a strong performance against Jacksonville. He completed 11 of 16 passes for 145 yards. He averaged a little more than 9 yards per attempt, threw a touchdown, and did not turn the football over. Most importantly, for this particular matchup, he attacked down the field. A significant part of his production came from explosive passes. Wilson connected on deep throws that produced gains of 37, 27, and 28 yards. That matters because one of the most encouraging things about the Rams against Kansas City was how difficult they made it for the Chiefs to create explosive passing plays. Kansas City did not complete a pass of more than 20 yards. Not one. That is exactly what I want to see again. And remember, the Rams accomplished that without their biggest defensive additions being on the field. Myles Garrett was not out there. Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson were not out there either. Yet the secondary looked more disciplined and more comfortable than what we have seen at times before. The fundamentals were encouraging. Kansas City had to live underneath instead of attacking Los Angeles over the top. And when you force an offense to keep completing short passes over and over again, eventually you give your defense opportunities to end drives. A penalty happens. A negative play happens. A third down arrives. Suddenly the offense is punting, and your offense gets the football back. That is why Wilson becomes such an interesting test for this secondary. A huge part of his success against Jacksonville came from those explosive throws. If the Rams remove that part of his game and make him patiently move New Orleans down the field with short completions, we will learn something useful about this group. Can these younger and reserved defensive backs repeat what they did against Kansas City? Can they communicate correctly? Can they avoid getting beaten over the top? Can they make Wilson hold the football a little longer or force him to take the shorter option? Those are things I will be watching on every New Orleans possession. Now it's your turn, Rams fans. What's your prediction for today's final score? Do you think the Rams take care of business against the Saints? Or are we in for a much closer preseason battle? Drop your score prediction in the comments because I want to see who gets it right. And if you enjoy talking Rams football with us, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Hit that like button too. It really helps support the channel and lets us keep bringing you Rams coverage all season long. Enjoy the game, everybody. Let's see what these young guys can show us today. Go Rams!